Good afternoon, Dual Coast fans. I'm not used to saying that,
Good
but
morning
good morning.
on
Good
the West Coast.
morning on the West Coast.
Good morning.
Bringing it back for round two this afternoon with everybody. Laila Eshan, right, Laila? Laila Eshan.
Yes.
Laila, thank you so much for being with us. We have a very special guest this afternoon. As always, joined by my West Coast co-host, Russ Rogers. Russ, how are we doing over there?
Man, we get to come together twice today. This is
We do.
fantastic.
We do. We do.
Yeah, and we get to have Layla, on Instagram with Dual Coast and live and all of the channels. And we're so grateful and blessed to have you on
Yes.
Dual Coast today, Layla.
Thank you so much, Russell and Dan, both of you. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I just let Dan know in advance that Layla is not like your hype person. Like we had Kelly Siegel on this morning,
Let's go, Layla.
let's go.
Well,
Big, buff dude.
let's see if we could save some lives here.
But I said, Layla is very kind. She's very gentle. She's very intentional in what she says and her message and what she's doing, but so powerful. And,
Russell.
So how we met is Layla and I ended up at the same event down with Rudy Maurer down in Miami. And we connected along with another lady. We sat next to each other. We hung out. We chatted a lot. We sat across from each other at dinner that night. She unloaded on me, and she gave me the insight of who Laila Eshan is, or a little part of it. And I just told her, I said, we got to have you on, Dual Coast. We ended up chatting, I don't know, maybe a little over a month ago, maybe. We did a little FaceTime, and it was she's just a powerhouse. And we're going to talk about this because she was at that time, getting ready to go to the UN and speak. And now that has happened. So I cannot wait to hear live today. But I kind of want to set the tone, Layla, for today. Okay? Because what you are doing is powerful. It's meaningful.
Thank
It's
you.
purposeful. What you have gone through in your own life, and we're gonna open the door for you to share. But I wrote down some notes off of your web,
Yes.
and I want to share a little bit about this. Okay, so I'm going to kind of set the stage, and then we're gonna go right into it. And I'm only just pulling out a few things. I mean, there's so much more.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, Layla is an author of a book called "I Want Freedom." Okay. She was born in Afghanistan, uprooted to Germany at age 9, forced into an arranged marriage at 16, was married for 16 years, moved to the United States, having 4 children. Okay. Then, in that marriage, not only was she raped and it was a violent marriage, but she had to deal with mental torture. By the age of 26, she had already had the 4 children. She started at that point, she wanted to move away and get out and to have freedom, not only for herself, but for her children. And at age 26, did. Here are some
I have
facts.
to correct you on that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was 26 when I became a mother of 4 children.
Oh, okay.
By the time I got my freedom was when I was 33.
Thank you. Thank you for that correction.
Yeah.
Now, here are several facts that I want people to know, and we're going to expound upon that in our conversation today. 650 million women alive today were married as children before the age of 18. Get that. 650 women. 12 million children become brides every year, which is roughly 23 girls every minute. Astounding. Absolutely astounding. Now, I'm sure, Layla, you have looked back at your life. You have come a long way. And I'm telling you, the time that we had that you shared with me, not only on the phone, just a little over a month ago, and then down in Miami was absolutely amazing because I just felt your heart and your passion, for what you're trying to accomplish in reaching people to not only get on board with your nonprofit, donate, help in any way that you can, but you have a message that is reaching people for children around the globe who you're trying to keep from what happened to you happen to them.
Correct.
Yeah. It's heavy. I gotta say, it's heavy.
Mm.
And you know, what you're doing is astounding. And you're just at the beginning
Mm.
of really doing some incredible things. And
Mm.
so I just I wanna open the door to you to share. Let's get a little bit of your past history. I shared just some bullet points, but let's get a little glimpse and tell the viewers, listeners out there a little bit more about the detail of who Laila is.
Yes. Well, I was born in Afghanistan, Kabul, and to parents that I believe till this day they were not quite ready to be parents. Um, I was 9 years old when the Russian invaded our country, and my father's career was with the Treasury Department. So, knowing that these are the first people would be assassinated in the war, so he was afraid of his life, and he wanted to escape the war and move to Germany. Well, father was sort of a party daddy. He just loved to go out, and he was friends with one of the very famous popular artists and in Afghanistan, a singer, and so that kind of pulled him a lot more towards his friends and partying and whatnot. So he ended up marrying another wife. And a year, I want to say, prior than us moving to Germany before the Russian invaded, and when we moved, my mother refused to follow and come along with us to Germany. The fact that what he did, marrying another woman in our culture, you could have as many as wives as you want, as long as you can afford them. And so, due to those circumstances, my mother did not feel secure in a relationship. She had never traveled before, only went to school till she was ninth grade. Then she got married to my father. So she wasn't really educated to understand what the laws are like going to be in Europe, right? So she was more thinking of what's she's experiencing in Afghanistan will probably be the same, which is all about men's right. There's absolutely zero rights for women. Like we can talk about this in a bit later, what the Taliban has ordered to do recently with women. But having said that, we ended up moving to Germany with my father. Mother stayed behind with my younger three siblings. My father ended up taking myself and my older sister, that's only 11 months older than me, to Germany due to education and having a better opportunity for us and whatnot. So we're excited. But when we moved to Germany, it was a different experience altogether, not knowing the language, being far away from your mother. At age 9, I then realized that me begging my father to take me with him may have not been a great idea because I really miss my mom so much. And father was never really around in Afghanistan because he was always out either working or with his friends. So we were always with our mom. And I missed that a lot. It was really, really tough time for my sister and I. And, growing up in a home in Germany with another woman that you have to call mom now, and we didn't even know her that well to even call her mom, but we were told that we have to call her mom. And but we didn't feel that kind of affection and that kind of the love from we were receiving from a mom. And so that was tough. But after 6 years enduring all that type of experience, being with a stepmom, and my father was very distant. And one day I was very driven. I was very, very sort of like had all these goals and dreams that I wanted to be this, I wanted to be that. And it's very smart. just more like a go-getter, you know. It's like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to just be really successful, I'm going to go to school and, you know, be this and be that, and buy my mom a big, nice home, and then have my family come join us. I had all these goals and dreams, and one day I go to school. I was doing finals. I'm on my way home. I'm just thinking of which subject I should study because it's doing finals. As I'm just entertaining that idea, I come home and I find my stepmom cooking, doing a weekday. She had never cooked during a weekday. And I was like, what's going on? She's like, make some tea. We have some surprise guest. She wouldn't tell me who they were. So I walk in with a tray of tea, and the door from the living room was a bit open. So growing up in Germany, like the rooms are not like here in the US. Not everything's wide open. Every room has its own door. So I walk in and the door was a bit open. So I kicked it with my foot. And the second the door opened, and I just froze, like I'm seeing these two men looking at me and smiling. And I was like, oh, my heart just dropped, my whole body froze, and there was just so much emotions going on internally. I didn't really know how to digest it all. I don't even remember till this day how I greeted these two men. But I knew they were there to marry me.
Wow, you knew that then?
Yeah, because see, there were rumors for many years when we moved to Germany, since I was 9 years old, that my father-in-law is. So my father-in-law and my dad or brother-in-laws, they married two sisters. So my stepmom was, you know, my father-in-law's sister-in-law. So they worked together and they were best friends. So he always used to come every summer to Germany and call me his little pretty daughter-in-law. And I didn't know what that really meant, but I mean, I know what it meant, but I didn't know exactly what's really going to happen. So prior to that, my stepmom got in this argument with my dad and said, you choose, either your daughter's going to stay in the house or I'm going to stay in the house. So my daughter was working my sister was working, at the Wendy's, and had just gotten this job, her first job. And she left, took her kids and put in the stroller. And for the first time I saw her pushing the stroller, because that was her job. But my dad didn't really do anything. And it just did something to me internally that I was just so turned off, so hurt. And I said, okay, well, Dad stayed silent to what she said. Does that mean like we have to move now? So I just jumped out of my window. It's in a single story home, grabbed my backpack and my sister's, and we ran away from home. We were gone for 10 days. We went to Bonn, to my dad's cousin's house. He was married to, and she was from Amsterdam, beautiful soul. They tried to adopt us, didn't work out because they needed our guardians or parents to sign us off. Didn't happen, dropped us back off, went to Frankfurt. We had this caseworker. We told her everything we were going through. Didn't do anything, called Dad. She told us there's nothing she could do. We left, so we see our dad walking towards us. That's when Dad promised we could do whatever we want to do. We could study, no more house chores, no more this, no more that. So we come home. 2 days after that, I walk into the living room. And that's when my whole, journey, my whole life just went upside down. And I went into my room after serving them the tea, and I just started crying. I was helpless. I felt helpless. I felt lost, confused. As a young 16-year-old, very naive. And all I remember, just experienced sorrowness my whole life. And I just didn't think it was fair. That's like, how am I going to endure such thing? I'm not ready to be married. And soon enough, I'm not ready to be a mother. And why is this happening to me? But that's when I made a promise. I said, this is so unfair. I was so angry at my father and at this point at my mom, that why would she let me go with my stepmom and my father? She was a mom. Like, why did she not protected me? I would have rather stay in a war in a country than going through this right now. So that anger just created this desire to at some point when I have my freedom, I'm going to share my story with the world and let them know what my parents did to me. So that journey lasted 16 years. I got pregnant my first child at 17. I didn't know how to protect myself. I remember when I was like 5, 6 years old in Afghanistan, my grandmother used to tell me, honey, you're not allowed to touch a boy. And you always have to pray and just know that a girl should be a girl. And I didn't know what she was talking about that. I think she meant, you have to be a virgin before you get married. But she's like, you can't touch a boy because then you get pregnant. And the fear of that just kept on going through my head. I mean, we had some sort of adultery school, studying at school that they would have educated us. But my father denied that. He didn't want to sign those. And he said, you guys don't need that. And so I had no idea. I thought by just kissing a boy, you get pregnant. So having said that, I had no idea how to protect myself. I came to a country within 10 days, I ended up getting married and came to the US. Another new phase, another new life, another, and knew of everything that was just very hard for me to accept as a 16-year-old, where I'm finding myself in a country with no one that I know, no one I trust, didn't speak the language. I had no money, car, license, friends, absolutely no one. So I feel pretty lonely, very lonely, felt abandoned. I feel like I wasn't important. I feel like I feel, to be honest with you, worthless. But all those pain I had to just endure internally. I couldn't speak about it to anyone. But within a month later, I found out that they did the same thing to my sister. I was 16, she was 17. My husband was 28, and her husband was 37 when she was only 17 years old when she got married. And for both of us was really horrific experience. And I found myself in abusive, physical, mental, emotional, and sexual abuse continuously until I got my freedom. At 17, had my first child, my baby girl that saved my life, because prior to that I was very suicidal. Many times I attempted suicide. I swallowed a sewing needle. I took 20 some heart pills. I jumped off the second story. I tried everything to take my life. I was just so miserable, and I didn't think I could endure such life, any further than what I was already experiencing. So, yeah, that just went on and on. There's a lot of alcohol, a lot of weed back then. To me, weed was drugs, it was heavy duty drugs. My father did drink and whatnot, but I never ever been around drugs, never my entire life. But the smell was crazy. I could tell the smell was just nasty to me, and his bloodshot eyes, and it's just really scary. When he was angry, he would just turn really angry, a monster man, and he would just do whatever he needed to do. And then I would start crying, and then he'll just pull me out of the room by my ponytail and lock me outside in the hallway because he had to go to bed. The fact that he had to work the next day. So that went on for 16 years. And my baby girl Jazz saved my life. And that's when I was like, okay, now I have a purpose to live. My life needs to now be different. I gotta live for her. So she became my everything, absolutely my everything. And then all the abuse went on, continued. No matter how much I begged, I cried, didn't really get him anywhere. He broke my jaw when I was a month after, maybe 2 weeks after we got married. And someone called the cops. He got arrested. They took me to the hospital, and he came to the hospital with his father. he built them out, and his dad did, and I was so fearful. I was like, oh my gosh, now he's got arrested. What is he gonna do to me? Take me home?
Mm.
And he didn't touch me for a bit, but he was very mean. He was always calling names, pushing, shoving, and but never like in a sense of giving me bruises or broken bones. But then after, I think he had some anger management issue classes he had to attend for a little bit, but every time he did that, he would come home, just throw things and shove me and push me and call me names, and just was horrible. I couldn't wait for him to finish those classes so he could just not do this to me anymore. But then right after that, as soon as he got done with those lessons, he went back to his old self. And every time he did that, I always told myself, one day I'm going to change the cycle. I know I'm not the only one. The same thing happened to my sister. I know the culture. And the entire 16 years, I was fighting my freedom every single day. But what really kept me going was training, working out every day, going to the gym. Luckily, there was one thing that he allowed me to do was to go to the gym. He did not mind that at all. And really, that's what kept me sane. And I used to tell myself that says, tomorrow's going to be a better day. Tomorrow's going to be a better day. And I always lived my life, although behind the curtains was extremely tough. But people looked at from the outside, they thought I had this perfect life, you know. He was a great provider. We lived in a nice home, and externally I looked good. I loved taking care of myself. I loved fashion. I loved all the fun things. Interior designing kept my mind occupied. It gave me a sense of freedom. And that was the only couple things that I could do without asking anyone's permission.
Mm.
Because when I was married to him, I had to ask, can I go to movies? Can I go with my friends out? I wasn't allowed to do anything. So, yes, at 33, I got my freedom. I had a friend, I still do. She's one of my best friends, Nicole. She encouraged me to, she had just started doing real estate. She's like, Laila, this is made for you. You're a people person, and I know you can do it. And I said, Nicole, this last couple of times we bought our homes, I don't even understand the language. How do you expect me to do this? I've never gone to school. It's like, I don't even trust my English. Like, how do you expect me to go and learn a different language in real estate? She's like, Laila, trust me, you could learn, you could do this. So I did. And I studied so hard night and day. I was pregnant with my fourth child. And I told myself that I'm going to have to do this because one day I'm going to be able to, I have to support my children, and I want to be able to do so on my own, because I knew he wasn't going to help me financially. That was his threat all the time. And yeah, I got my license, and a few years later, I finally said no more. When he started mixing drugs and anything and everything he could come close to that I wasn't taking. And sometimes there were times where I literally thought I was going to die.
Mm.
I begged him. I said, "Stop doing this because our children needs me.
Yeah.
You know, you're the provider. You're always gonna be at work, and I don't want my children to be brought up by stepmother or by stranger. Like, I love my children, like till this day. I always raised them in a very particular, very secure way, and very clean, loving, caring environment. All the things that I never received, that I lacked on growing up from my parents, I made sure my children will have, and also raised them with knowing that we all have a purpose. I already know my purpose. I know my purpose would be one day that I'm going to be raising my voice and being the voice for all the voiceless girls that are out there. But I also wanted my children to know that I wanted them to be educated. I wanted them to be financially very successful. I wanted them, because as we all know, when you are financially secure, you have power. When you have power, you can change the world in any shape and form you choose to. So that's how I raised my children. But when they were old enough where I felt like they're literally adapting to some of the things their father's doing right in front of them, which was drinking, you know, smoking weed in the backyard, coming back smelling. It's like I don't want to end up being with five of the same person, and my boys end up being like their father, abusing their mother, their wives, and then their children would have to experience with my children. Same thing for my daughters. And I that's when I said no more.
Mm.
I got my freedom and filed for divorce at age 33, took advantage of my real estate license, started door knocking whether rain or shined. And whether I had my blisters or bleeding or not, it didn't matter to me. I was determined that I'm going to be, you know, having better life financially than he ever provided. And I did, you guys, I did. I became one of the most successful agent in my office and in the community and in the whole DRA department. I mean, I used to get always these notifications of like, I'm being awarded like this date. If I hadn't even had the time to go collect my awards because I had to work. I mean, I was taking care of my family overseas. By then, my mother was already here, but I had my siblings out in Pakistan, and my mother's family, brothers and nieces and nephews that we were supporting. So I took over all that responsibility along with my 4 children, my mother, and everything else, and did real estate very successfully. Also did became a real estate investor that I was very successful at. So yeah, and then children are now brought up and they're all adults. My boys are 28, 30. Girls are 33, 38, and I'm also blessed with 2 grandbabies. My oldest daughter's married. She's got a 3-year-old son and a 5-year-old son. And but when I wrote my book was during COVID that I took the opportunity to now share my story. My children were old enough adults that actually were all on their own. And I figured this is the time to share my story with the world. And there you go.
There it is.
There it is.
Yay! Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That is amazing.
Thank you. So this book, this story, is dedicated to, like you mentioned, 12 million girls every single year. This 12 million number comes from the United Nations report, but I think if anything, it's a lot more than what's being reported, because a lot of these third world countries that are being practicing this cycle of centuries and centuries of this forced arranged marriage, it happens in some places in the world where there's really no news, no television, no cell phones, no newspaper. They're all illiterate. None of these people can read and understand what's going on in the world. All they know is what happened to themselves, to their mothers, to their grandmas, and they keep on practicing the same thing to their little young girls. Because this is what I do, and through the social media, as you know how that works. You speak, everything just starts showing up. You search for something, everything's right in front of you. I get a lot of posts that hits my page, as well as friends and spirits that know what I'm doing, sending me so many videos and things that I see. It's just like, I already know what's happening. It happened to me, right? But it's one thing that you know it's happening. Another thing that you're actually experiencing these videos. Just recently, about 4 or 5 days ago, I got this video. There's this room in this village in Afghanistan, very most recent ones. This room, there's 2 rooms that are filled with young little girls from 5 years old to 10, 11 years old at the oldest. And there's an American journalist that is asking them questions. There's a translator, and they're like, there's a few dads sitting there. The moms are in a different room. And all these little young girls covered up with their little heads. And they're like, so how old are you, honey? She's like, I'm 5, and just smiling. I'm 6, I'm 5. I'm 7, I'm 8. I mean, just dozens and dozens of them. They're all waiting to be picked up by their husbands. Every single one of these girls are sold anywhere from $500 to $6,000. And all these men that these young little girls have been sold to are in their 50s, 60s, 70s. They're interviewing a 10-year-old girl, and she's sitting next to her father, and she's crying so hard. I had to cry with her. I mean, it took me back. You know, I was 16 still. I was a bit older. But it just took me in my moment that I had to experience that. And she's only 10. She goes, Dad, don't do this to me. If you're going to do this to me, I promise I'm going to suicide. You can't do this to me. I want to be with you and Mom. I don't want to go to 7-year-old man. I don't want to be married to this man. Dad, please don't do that. And I remember when I was in my room, and that's exactly what I said. I was like, Dad, why are you doing this to me? I'm not ready. And so I was feeling her pain. And that is honestly the reason I can't look away. I just cannot look away. So I'm here and raising my voice and doing whatever I can to make sure that the entire 7 billion population of this world, which I believe 2 billion of these girls are of this population are these girls, honestly, because, and the sad thing is that 33% of these young girls don't make it. I shouldn't even be here myself due to all the attempts I have decided, to suicide and or all the abuse that I have experienced from my husband. I mean, currently I'm experiencing some of the consequences, like I mentioned earlier, swallowing a sewing needle. It's stuck in my stomach. And, and now I'm older, right? So it's like, what if I fall and I need an x-ray or, an MRI? It's impossible because I was told that. I went to many surgeons and, living in LA, like I went to Cedars, UCLA, and all these places, one of the best surgeons in another city. And they all told me it's like, dropping a needle in the sea and asking us to pull it out. It's impossible because it could be fatal to you. You're just going to have to live with it. And, like head concussions constantly. And now I have aneurysm. I have brain aneurysm. I got to deal with that. So it's like, I could be here now and I could not be here tomorrow. Who knows? Like I'm literally walking on eggshells due to my past. But there are girls that don't make it. We're talking about 33% of these 12 million girls don't make it. And there's no question asked. There's literally no media about this. There's absolutely nothing. There's a few handful of organizations out there that, God bless their heart, that are supporting girls in need and that are stuck in the forced arranged marriages, because 99% of these marriages are in abusive marriages. They're not loving and caring marriages. A lot of these young 5-year-old girls don't even make it. I mean, when they through the intercourse, they're done. They're done. The 60, 70-year-old, they need to still need to be, developed. They're not there yet, so their bodies can't handle. And these poor parents don't know. They will never know that their daughters died. They'll never know what's going on with their daughters' lives because they take them so far away. They don't have any access to anything to be able to get hold of their daughters. And at the end, they all say, please take care of my child. Now she's yours. Please make sure you give her love and care. They go, oh, promise. And you see these on the videos. But do you really think that's what's happening behind closed doors?
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
5-year-olds, do you think can actually be able to, their little tiny bodies tolerate, sexual intercourse? Like, what do you think? And it's just sadly, there's absolutely No news about this at all anywhere in the world. They keep on making it. I just read about a few months ago, I think it was in Saudi Arabia somewhere, that they legalized for girls to be married at age 9.
Okay.
Huh? Why? How?
Yeah.
She hasn't even lived any life. Like, how is that? Why do you think is that fair? And who are you to tell this young girl who she could be and not be? Like, I was so mad at my father. I'm like, who are you to tell me that I should be sharing my body with this man? Like, why? This is my body. This is my sacred body. Like, why? Who are you to tell me? And at this age, why would you do this to me?
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, to think about you, Lila, like you were 16 and you just mentioned moments ago a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old,
it's
an
exactly.
8-year-old.
Mhm.
You know, I have 2 granddaughters, age 5 and 7. Like, I can't even fathom
No.
them being off and getting married, and I could see how that would move women to wanting to take their own lives. And one of the things that I read was some of them, light themselves on fire. Like that's so tragic that they're in that state of mind. And there's many other ways, right? And you mentioned some of those, but to think of a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, to be able to do that. And I love what you said a little while ago, is that physical fitness, getting in the gym, working out helped you with not only your physical, but right up here to
Yes.
be able to handle the situation that you were thrown into.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly. But the sad thing is, Russell, that most young girls don't know, and how can they?
Yeah.
I recently had a meeting with someone when I was in New York, and this gentleman was saying, you know what? Why would they keep on popping babies when they know they can't afford it? Like, for example, parents telling their children, and this one video I shared with you folks was that there's a father holding his 6-month-old little girl. He says, I have to sell my 5-year-old girl to feed the 6-month-old. And then 4.5 years later, he's going to sell that 5-year-old so he could feed the new child. There is no protection for them. They
Mm,
don't know how. It's not, there's no medical. I
yeah.
have a cousin in Afghanistan that he was a taxi driver, 44 years old, father of 5 children, just passed from a heart attack. He didn't know he had heart issues.
Mm,
44 years old, father of 4. He had a taxi driving somebody else's, some company's taxi. They took his car away. He was so stressed out. How is he going to now provide for his children? And end up giving him a heart attack and died.
mm,
So, and my cousin lived in Kabul, which you think it's the capital and it's a city, but I'm talking about some of these people that are living in these small villages. And it's not just in Afghanistan. I'm talking, this happens globally, you guys.
yeah.
It happens all over the world, including here in the US. It happened to me in the US. I mean,
Right.
constantly banging my head. It's like, I shouldn't even be here. Like, and my sister shouldn't even be here, the things she had experienced. And, you know, girls lose their lives and there's no talks about it. And under their husband's abuse, or they put themselves, on fire. You know why on fire? Because there's no pills to take. I took 25 pills, heart pills, to kill myself. I didn't die, but there's no pills for them to take to kill themselves with, probably not even a sharp knife to cut their wrists. Or so what they do is put themselves on fire. The most easiest, the most access,
Mm-hmm.
that they have to take their lives away. So this is why this is so close to me. I live this life. I live the silence, the loss that comes from forced arranged marriage. But I lived in this country, in a free country, the most freest country in the world, and I was still stuck. I was still stuck for 16 years. I didn't know how to get out. And I got pregnant 4 times. And I didn't know the first time, the second, third, fourth, every time I filed for divorce. Because I was into health and fitness, I knew that birth control pills will cause me some sort of health issues later in life. I just knew it. Every time I took it, it's like, this is poison. I'm giving my body poison. And I hated it. So every time I filed for divorce, I stopped the pills. Then he'll come back and beg and cry, give him another chance, another opportunity. So I would do that. And me being so young and healthy and active, very fertile, I'll get pregnant. And so he took advantage of that. And he told me once, he goes, I wanted to have 4 kids with you, and I got that because I know now he can't go anywhere, because he didn't think that I'm actually going to be able to work and provide for myself, because I had no education. I was robbed from all that. But, being that little aggressive, driven, ambitious young girl, I carried that on with me throughout my adult life. And that's what got me to where I am today. But not all girls have that.
Yeah.
They just don't even know how to reach within themselves to pull that bravery out. So they're just stuck. They're just stuck in these, abusive marriages that they don't know how to pull themselves out. So what I want to do is, when I was writing my book, I realized that, okay, Laila, you're sharing your story with the world, bringing the awareness, creating a movement. Great. But this book could be out, but what can I do to help? So when I decided to launch my nonprofit organization, which is iwantfreedom.ngo, to the nonprofit, to be able to, through funds, then I can, build a safe home, provide education, provide all the tools that they need and the support that they need, so they become independent and maybe one day write their own story. Who knows? But that really what this story is meant to do. My story is to be able to save lives and provide what I didn't have, what I was lacking on.
Yeah.
For these young girls, and to get them educated, and give them the mental and support that they need. So yeah, instead the world is going into war, and one war to another war, and it's like, why are we doing all of this? Why can we just not have a peaceful life and just help one another and raise somebody else's hand to give what they need? And we're privileged, right?
Yeah.
Me, it's
absolutely.
like, as long as we have a roof over our head, a plate of food, and on the table, I think really that's more than enough for me. And I just want to be able now to help, but I can't do this on my own. It's obvious. It's impossible. I really need everyone's help. Everybody, including the women that are stuck in this situation, that what I'm finding from my experience, that due to their pride, dignity, family name, they just keeping their stories a secret. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to share their story with me. Like, allow me to share your story so we can, bring in further awareness that this is just not my story. This is millions and millions of all of our stories. Let's just share it.
Yeah. Dan, I want to hear what's going on in your mind right now.
That is a very heavy story, Laila, I have to be honest with you. Russ gave me a little bit about your background before we came on, but I didn't realize the depths of what actually happened. I just want to touch on your nonprofit for a second here. How can people who are listening to the podcast right now help to assist your nonprofit in I Want Freedom? What can they do?
Well, what they could do, whatever they think, in any way that they can think they can help, we're open. I'm in process of creating a team, whether it's here in the US or outside of the US, anywhere in the world. Forced marriage is happening globally. It's not just in my country. It's not just in the Middle East. It happens everywhere. So you, our listeners, are listening right now. If you think you can help in any way, please reach out to us, whether it's through funding or becoming part of our team. You can get hold of us through iwantfreedom.ngo or iwf.ngo. That is also a website, and the nonprofit charities on there, social media, everything, all the contacts information's on there that folks can get hold of us and let us know. And we would really appreciate it. If nothing else, please, please share. At least share, bring in more awareness. And, you know, we need to unite to save lives of 5-year-olds, 6, 7-year-olds. I mean, we all have daughters or grandbabies that we would never want that. We can't even, like you said, think about this happening to our children. And that's what I want your viewers and listeners to put themselves and in these little young girls' shoes or their daughter's shoes, you know. If you think you can't see that on your children, and please help us.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
You know, my thought, Laila, is that, I don't know how many there are of you. And what I mean by that statement is there are so many millions
Millions.
who have not come through
No.
the situation,
Mm-mm.
have not come through, and I'm saying that are alive, that didn't take their own lives, but who are living today,
Yes, yes.
still living underneath those circumstances, or maybe got free from that, but still feeling confused and distraught and feeling like who's going to be around the corner next to come get me, or
Yeah.
not being able to genuinely love someone, right? Or in your case, be able to get to the mindset and the healing process to be able to share your words. There's so many out there, millions, who have not made it through, who are struggling today.
Yes, 100%, Russell. That's the whole point. Is for example, my own sister. I talked about her in my book.
Yeah.
Sophie, she, although she got her freedom, and you know, her ex just recently passed away from cancer. The family found him dead. He was dead for 3 days, bleeding from nose, mouth, ears, everywhere. I mean, just that, I'm like, okay, that was God's punishing him in a sense, you know, for what he did to that young little Sophie. But I tell her, I'm like, can I please, like, let me share your story? Doesn't want to.
Yeah.
And that's literally been a challenge for me. Like you said, the ones that are stuck out of fear, they can't speak. And the ones that end up getting their freedom out of shame, embarrassment, family's name, you know, for all these reasons, they don't want to share their story. Um, you know, when I wrote my book, I knew that I have a relation, or I had at least a relationship with my father, and over the phone, and you know, maybe every few years I'll go visit them because they live in a different country. But when he found out about my book 2 years ago when it came out, I called. His brother passed away, and I just wanted to call and give him my condolences. And he said, "There's no reason for us to talk anymore," without even giving me a reason. And I didn't talk really about my own personal experience and details, the life I had in Germany, or maybe even at home in Afghanistan, because I didn't want it to lose the message of my book. This is about forced arranged marriage, not my personal life relationship with my family.
Yeah.
But so there's a lot I didn't share. But having said that, my father doesn't even know what I wrote in my book. This isn't about our personal story. So he's assuming. And a little part of me wanted to hear him that he was proud of me and that he wants to read my book, because I have forgiven him. I talked about it, and you read my book, right? And I said it over and over. It's not their fault. I don't blame them. This is a culture. This is a tradition that's been practiced centuries after centuries. So I want to break this cycle. I want to educate those parents. I want to educate these young girls and these young boys that this is not a way to do it. You have your whole life to get married. You have your whole life to have children. And through my nonprofit, I want to be able to support these families that are being forced to give away and to sell their children for financial burdens, right? They're not doing it because they don't want their children. They're doing it because the places they live, the areas they're at, there's no food, there's no jobs, there's nothing for them. So what they do instead, sell their little girls. So if we can provide them and support them where the countries they live in, you can support a family for $100 a month, and that's saving a life.
Wow.
You know, $100 a month to support a family in some village, to give what do you call it, a laptop to this young little girl and educate her, right? And in one laptop, you could educate 5, 6 girls. I mean, that's just how it works. They're all together all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, you spend 5, 6 years. What is that times $100? It's nothing for a young girl or 6 of these girls to become educated, so then they can carry on and support their community and be a better role model for their children. This is how we could change a society. This is just how we could have a better world for the future generation. If we continue doing this, what do you think the outcome will be?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's really where my head is at. And yeah.
Yeah. One thing I have to say is I can't believe there's not much media coverage on this.
Right?
Not
No.
very well known by any means,
Mm-mm.
at least in my opinion. Russ, I don't know. Do you agree with that?
Oh
It's
yeah,
not-
100%.
And it's
100%.
just unbelievable to me how this happens. And Laila, you're saying this happens a lot of places, not just, this happens in a lot of different countries.
Yes. It's
Not just Afghanistan.
no.
Not just 2 or 3
Yeah.
countries. This is happening everywhere.
Absolutely. This happens anywhere. Just recently, about maybe a month ago, I read an article that happened in Alabama. A 64-year-old Caucasian man married a 16-year-old young Caucasian girl, and some neighbor told on him, and he got arrested. He didn't know why he got arrested. And they're like, "You married a minor." He goes, "Well, I have the parents' consent."
That's crazy. That's just,
So this happened in the US.
yeah.
You know, so it happens everywhere. But at least this young 16-year-old girl was lucky enough to have a neighbor telling
Yeah.
her husband that saved her life.
Yes.
See, I know I was 16 years old. I didn't know nothing.
Right.
I didn't know nothing about being a wife and being a housewife and having all these chores and being a mother. I didn't know. I didn't even know that the most healthiest thing to do as a mother is to breastfeed your child. I didn't know that. And I used to pump my milk. My mother-in-law said, "Well, pump it," because I was in so much pain. And she said, "Just pump it and give it to your child." And I pumped it out, and I saw like the milk was just mixed with, it just mixed with oil and discolored. And I was like, "Ew, this doesn't look like a normal regular milk. I'm not going to drink this." In Germany, the doctors told us every time we took our young siblings to the doctors, that was our chores. And they always said, if you're cold, your siblings are cold. If you're hot, so anything that you desire, you feel, that's how children. So to me, I remember that. And I was like, doctors in Germany used to tell me this about my siblings. So if the doctor would tell me, if don't, I wouldn't drink this milk, so why do I want to give it to my child? That's how uneducated I was. I went to school in Germany. I was here in the US. I didn't know.
Sure.
So imagine what these little young girls, they don't know. They don't know. So they need to be educated. The parents need to be educated. They need to be supported. And like I said, I mean, for us here in the US, I was in Miami, and I enjoyed one of these talks, and this girl's like, the host is like, "You guys buy my program, like it's going to be this much. And how much do you spend going out on dinners?" She's like, "I spend minimum $1,000 a week." And I was like, wow, she spends $1,000 a week to go out to dinner. If she could only spend $100 of that $1,000,
That's right.
Yeah.
and support a family that can support 5 young girls.
Mm.
The sad thing is that like you said, Dan, there's not enough media. We talked about it,
Yeah.
and people don't know. When I was in the UN and did my speech, most people like, oh my God, I didn't know this was happening. I didn't know this was happening. And I'm like, wow. They go, oh, is this still happening? This is actually still happening? Not wasn't just in your time, but it's still happening. Yes, it's still happening right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Blind to it, and not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough people, talking about it like yourself, writing about it in your book, starting a nonprofit, going to the UN, and, getting on stages, getting on podcasts, and just sharing your story, your message, and that's what we need more of.
Exactly.
So, I hope that those that are listening today live, or those that are going to hear on the different platforms, social media, hearing and seeing the different videos of this cut, take action,
Please. Action.
because the story that Laila has shared of her past and her present, and I know she, in Miami, when we were sitting there at the dinner table, speaking so highly, of her children, and the relationship, and her grandbabies, and so, that brought, a smile to my face. And of course, we didn't go quite this in depth in our conversation, but she definitely shared an extensive amount of her story with me, and I was just so blessed to get to know you and to hear your story, about the pain and about the suffering, about all of the trauma that you went through, but the healing that has happened, and now the light that you're sharing, and shedding light, on the situation that's abroad, everywhere.
Right. Yes, shedding the light is the main purpose here.
Yeah,
And absolutely. So thank you so much, you guys.
absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on today. Laila, where can people find you, and where can people find your organization?
My organization is iwantfreedom.ngo, and website, everything is all under the same name. So if they click in, and they can find the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. There's also an audiobook as well that I decided to narrate it myself. So it's all available on Amazon. And all the information is on the book, as well as under iwf.ngo or iwantfreedom.ngo.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Excellent. This
Yeah,
has
please, everybody, go ahead.
Please, everybody, get that book. Look into Laila's nonprofit organization. We ask you. Thank you so much for being on today. This was a very powerful podcast. We really appreciate your time, and we really appreciate you being able to spread awareness on this. And you educated me a lot today. You educated Russ a lot today, it seems.
100%.
And thank you so much again for telling your story. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was just such a blessing, and it was a pleasure meeting you, Russell, and continuing our friendship. I admire
Absolutely.
and Dan, you as well. Now that I met you, thank you so much for having me. This means the world. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Anytime. Absolutely.
God blessed.
God bless. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Please look into Laila's, look into her story. Thank you so much again for listening. We'll see everybody next week.
Yes. Goodbye. Thank you.